everybody, and thank you very much for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News website. Today, I've got the guys from TRU Precious Metals on board to talk about their results that were out this morning. I believe that this company has a couple of great projects on their overall land package, and still a very modest valuation. So Barry, why don't you kick off with these results that you put out, and then we can sort of move into the context of how they play in with the other holes at Woods Lake, and maybe move on to a bigger picture of the whole package.
Sure. So yeah, so we just put out that press release this morning. We just announced 5 more holes from our 22-hole drill program. So there's still 15 holes to come from that program to be reported. We're now 5 for 5 in our drilling. Yeah, those are the 3 drill holes that we just put out from the Woods Lake area. Hole 2106, 11, and 12, all of which hit gold in a felsic intrusive hosted rock. So we're now defining the Woods Lake zone with, in a little more detail. The zone had previously been identified over a 550-meter length, and we're now starting to sort of do more definition work on it to see exactly what we have there. So you can see some of the assays from that drilling on Wood Lake.
And how does this play into because you had previous results out with some high-grade kicks in it as well. Are they in the same rock package? Like, how does this all play together, Barry?
Yeah, it's in the same rock package. It's basically 550-meter long, at least 550-meter long, basically a granitic rock, granitic intrusion with a lot of microfractures with arsenopyrite and quartz veining, hematite alteration, and sericite, silica, and we're hitting the same rock along strike. So holes 6, 11, and 12 are all intersecting in the same horizon, or if you will, the same zone.
As the high grade.
Yeah, as a high grade. So the grade varies across, basically as you go along strike, it'll vary. You'll have high grade pockets, you'll have some more moderate grade pockets, and we're just sort of seeing where the gold is a bit more concentrated. And then also, if we can kind of, with this work, if we can actually try and outline, a higher grade core, we can kind of define some plunge to it as well. That's being kind of looked at as we get results back.
And the thing that really stood out to me at the start of this whole Woods Lake area is that structure that's shaped like a Z, maybe sitting on its side a little, but you've got some along those kind of features. Well, first of all, there are deep feet cracks in the earth, and this is an orogenic kind of system. So, that's a great area to look for rock that's well prepared for the fluids to make their way from deep down all the way up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, maybe I could show. Maybe I can.
Got an arsenal of images and maps ready today.
What's that?
Got an arsenal of images and maps ready.
Yeah, well, that's the nature of this project, Joel. It's rich with it's a big feat structure that goes from Valentine Lake for 45 kilometers through your project, and then you've got that double.
You guys see this map on your screen right now?
We're not seeing anything yet, Barry.
Oh, okay. Just let me.
But the property, it's 236 square kilometers, which we doubled at this point, less than a year since we acquired it through an aggressive acquisition program of option agreements, property purchases, staking. And so it's a massive land package that would take a year or two to explore just at surface. We already drilled within 6 months of acquiring it. But, we've been having ongoing exploration work since we acquired the property in May 2021. Setting up for our field season here for 2022, obviously getting drill results back from last winter. So the property's occupying all our time, that's for sure.
No doubt. And as Barry's showing there, that's a big regional shear zone. Those are the cracks that open things up for mineralization.
Yeah, this is the Valentine Lake. They've got about 4 million ounces defined right along this sort of dashed line. This is the Rogerson Lake conglomerate contact with the granites on their property, and that structure continues down through this lake, Victoria Lake, and then goes down through our property. And this is the Woods Lake area down here that we're drilling on right now. So it kind of comes down, does this big flexure, this bend, and then it continues into the southwest again. So it's along the south side of the lake right here, and then up along the east side of the lake as well that we're mainly focusing on.
And what
I'll just add, that's actually the old map of the project before, right when we acquired it. So that doesn't account for the additional, area that we've acquired since.
Yeah.
Okay. What are the similarities, Barry, between, give people an idea of, what you're looking at here that is similar to what they saw at Valentine Lake? You got this big shear zone, and what was the mineralization and stuff that they were seeing there?
Well, just let me bring this one up here. So yeah, so the key here is that the structure is the key. Just up here on Valentine Lake, just off of this map, this is actually the updated claims map that Joel was just referring to. That this contains all the ground that we currently hold. But yeah, so they're finding their gold up at Valentine Lake at the contact between a granite and the Rogerson Lake conglomerate, which is right on that main Valentine Lake shear zone. So as that shear zone comes down through our property, through here and through Woods Lake, we're finding the gold here in a similar environment basically on the shear zone at the contact between the granite and underlying sediments. It's not Rogerson Lake conglomerate in this particular location, but the Rogerson conglomerate comes all the way down through here. And then it gets a bit structurally complex, as you can imagine, with this big bend in the structure. So it's in this area right here where we're finding. So it's a similar structural environment in that we're on the main shear zone, but the key is that you're on the shear zone, and the rock types can vary along the shear zone to a certain degree.
One thing that brings up for me is you talk about a bend. That's often where you get those well-prepared rock. Is that something that was important at Valentine Lake?
I haven't heard it specifically described that way. At Valentine Lake, they get a focus of gold where they find dikes, and basically close to the shear zone. So although in a lot of major gold camps, these big flexures are well noted as being good traps for gold environment, for gold deposits. At Valentine Lake, I can't say for sure if that's specific features going on.
Well, there's a couple other things this map says to me. One, you can see that structure is well defined, and then there seems to be cross-cutting features that those are often also in gold camps, traps where the rocks are well prepared.
Yeah, things like this here, cross-cutting features. You see these northwest trending. See how the lake is kind of trending northwest.
They stand sore thumb, Barry.
Yeah, they do. But also, what's noteworthy about this map as well is that the main Valentine Lake Cape Ray shear zone comes up. The Cape Ray shear zone comes up from the Cape Ray gold deposits, which are just to the southwest of us. And the shear zone comes up through here, and then when you get around this area here, which is called Princess Lake, it sort of splits and goes up that way, and then goes on up here and does this big flexure. So where this splays off and kind of splits off, this is also a major shear zone through here. You can see all these ponds and lakes, kind of defining the shape of it, and it's along that shear zone as well that we're finding gold, like Rose Gold and Jacob's Pond, and And we're finding some gold, there's a lot of gold in tills here at King George IV. A lot of visible gold being panned. So it's all along this structure as well. And we believe that is actually the continuation of the Cape Ray structure. And then the main Valentine Lake structure kind of runs up through here. And then up in this area, they sort of come back together, it seems, where it kind of goes under the lake, or sort of maybe up and around here, somewhere in this area here. So when we had mentioned previously in some of our news items that we have like another structure which gives us 25 or so kilometers of potential gold endowment, it's along this one that we're referring to right here.
And that's at KG4 there. You've had some joy in your sampling and in your drilling, and those cross-cutting features they go right from the KG4 area right down to the Valentine Lake corridor.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of, you can even see the shape of this King George IV lake. It's got this northeast arm, and then it has this northwest arm as well. And so there's a feature kind of coming up through here. That one, I'm not sure. I think that one might truncate at the structure here. But yeah, there's a whole series of northwest trending structures which kind of intersect this structure and or this one here. So there's still lots of work to be done here to fully unravel the structural complexity of the area.
But that complexity is what you want. That's where you get the big cracks in the earth that enable the fluids to come up. And you're seeing that from your surface sampling and near surface drilling, that story hangs together.
Yeah, it does. And so the drilling that we just announced this morning is right along here on the south side of Woods Lake. We're also seeing targets that we're identifying up here on the east side of Woods Lake as this feature starts to sort of turn and go back up to the northeast again. Right along here, there's gold, very high gold in soils. There are 2 historic gold occurrences which have been trenched and sampled, some high grades that came out of that, but the area hasn't really been given any serious attention because all the focus was down here on this side. So we're going to now expand our kind of regional I guess outlook beyond the Woods Lake and the KG4 area, and we're going to expand up into some of these other more outlying targets. And now let me just see if I can show you another.
Well, I sure hope it's not lost on people that your regional exploration so far has been confined to a fairly, well, not a big part of the overall claim. You've got all the way up to from KG4 up to Jacob's Pond. There you go. Look at that.
That's some of the veining in the Jacob's Pond area where we're finding gold, silver, copper. It's actually a lot of copper in a lot of these rocks up in the Jacob's Pond area, and that's one of the areas that we're going to be doing an IP survey coming up fairly soon. Just let me see if I can get to the other images here.
Well, that's some nice looking stuff there.
You got all kinds of good lineup here, Barry.
So this is, again, like this is the Woods Lake area here. This is where we're drilling. You can see the road coming in here. The main highway comes down. This is the main paved highway coming down through the property here. It's a whole network of secondary roads crisscrossing the property. But what I was going to point out, this is the area on the east side of Woods Lake that we're going to be doing some IP survey work, some lines in an area where the main structure comes down through this river valley here before it sort of does this big bend as it goes around. So there's coincidental soils and actual bedrock gold occurrences in this area. And you can see up here, we're doing a more detailed focus in the Jacob's Pond area. This is an emerging area that we believe, is a very good gold copper target area. So we're going to do a little more detail in that area, but we've got a regionally extensive gold and soil anomalies all up through this structure where we identified targets last year in 2021 soil sampling program. So we're outlining 4 grids well, actually 5 grids really along this structure. And this is the main Ballantyne Lake structure coming down through here. And we've got, so the Rogerson Lake conglomerate comes down like through here, this area. And so we're outlining, you know, another 2 or 3 grid. Well, I don't know if you call that a grid, but it's at least one big line where there's anomalous soil geochemistry, you know, or bedrock gold occurrences or quartz veins or a combination of all in these, anywhere we're doing these IP lines. And that survey is just kicking off as well.
Can I just toss in 2 little add-ons to this? None of these include the Woods Lake Gold Zone. None of these IP targets include the Woods Lake Gold Zone where we just drilled, or KG4. So there's actually 8 distinct target areas where we're looking to further develop the property, which is consistent with our strategy to do additional exploration and development of the property. There's 8 different targets that we're looking to advance in order to build a pipeline across the property, let alone where we've drilled. And the other thing that I don't think we've mentioned so far is along that secondary structure, so Long Pond, Bear Pond, Jacobs Pond, like the whole north side, our working hypothesis at this point is that structure, like Barry mentioned, was Cape Ray, which actually bends and then trends down through Matador Mining, who's our neighbor to the southwest. And they also have a resource of over 800,000 ounces of gold. So we're actually bordered on either side by known gold deposits on each of our neighbors on either side. Like we're sandwiched right between the 2 gold deposits, which I think is great, you know, location and geology.
Yeah, from a structural perspective and also from the kicks that you guys have been getting at the surface sampling you know, and as I said, those are well-defined structures. It's not difficult to see those for the average investor out there. And those are the surface representations of the features that go very deep. So you've got these deep features, and at the surface, you're finding lots of mineralization. So that is ideally what you're looking for in an exploration project.
Agreed. Couldn't agree more.
So this is basically a summary of all the drill holes that we did at Wood Lake.
Which one was the one with the high grade, Barry?
I think which ones we put out so far.
Yeah, I think it was one of these. It was one of these right in this area here. I'm not sure if it was 2 or 3. It was one of these right in this area here.
So you've got a structural story with mineralization ranging from lower grade to higher grade, and you're just really early into this thing.
Yeah,
we've only got 7 holes back out of a 22-hole program. So there's thousands of meters of core assays left to come back from the lab. And just on that point, because probably your viewers have heard it about us and others in Newfoundland and maybe across Canada, the labs are very backed up. Luckily, that we've seen a little bit of an improvement in lab turnaround times in the last month or so, because most people have limited their field exploration during the winter. You can drill year round in Newfoundland, but you can't do field work in the winter. And so that's helped the lab in Newfoundland get through more of their backlog, which in turn has helped them process some of our samples. So we're hopeful that we can get a bit more consistent results in our hands, and then of course releasing that as quickly as we can to the market. You know, we don't sit on results. We just didn't have anything back from the lab for the last 2 months, as crazy as it sounds. We finally got this batch out. We have put rushes on some of the other samples we have in at the lab. And so I had hoped that we have another batch, 3 to 6 holes within the next couple of weeks that we can put out, and thereafter to close out the rest of the program. But, certainly still 2/3 of our drill program has yet to come in. And like Barry said, we're 5 for 5 so far at Woods Lake in terms of hitting gold. So a lot of holes left to come back from Woods Lake.
I think it's important for the audience that doesn't maybe know the whole Newfoundland situation very well, but this is one of the hottest gold exploration regions in the world. It's a real gold rush out there. You've got staking, you've got work, and they are limited by the labs you can push your stuff through. But I hear that there's noise being made that some of these labs are realizing just how much I mean, they can look forward for 2 or 3 years and see a lot of work. So there's some efforts to, I think the biggest jam is the preparation of the core for assaying. Can you guys talk a little bit about what you're hearing on how that's going to improve? Because it sure looks like there's a heck of a lot of work out there for some labs.
Yeah, well, we've been approached by SGS, one of the national labs, and they're talking to a group of I guess what they consider the more active companies, looking for kind of, I guess, some commitments or some support to say, whether we want to put an assay lab or at least a prep facility. They're actually, my understanding is that there could be at least a prep facility, maybe more, in central Newfoundland for the field season in 2022. That would help alleviate a lot of the pressure, because there's only one assay lab in Newfoundland right now. And
for the audience that doesn't understand how this goes, after you cut your core and you log it, you send it in for lab preparation and then on to assaying. If the big log jam is in the preparation, and also in Newfoundland, as Barry said, only one lab to do assaying, but if they can get in there and do more of the prep work and then send them off to their other labs, because those labs can use the assaying work.
Plus Eastern Analytical, the assay lab in Newfoundland, is actually putting in more circuits, if you will, or more expanded capacity. They're in the process of trying to expand their lab as well. So between all of that, we're very hopeful that 2022 field season, the results will be coming back much more quickly. Is what we're seeing,
it's just
what we're anticipating.
The amount of money that has been raised, it would shock me that these labs can't see that, you could have, from just a few of the explorers, let alone all the other guys like yourselves, that, there's hundreds of thousands of meters being drilled. That's not going to stop anytime soon, because these companies have big treasures.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So on our end, we'll be doing what we can to get results out as soon as we receive them. Lest anybody think we sit on bad results, here's evidence, right? We put out the full suite of results in hand. We will continue to do so. It's just a matter of getting them from the lab.
Okay, so we didn't even really talk too much about KG4, and that's along that Cape Ray structure where it splits off and then kind of goes like this, almost like an avoid. But that's where you've got, look at that geophysical anomaly there, that horseshoe shape. It sticks out like a sore thumb. And then you've got this other area. I think your 50 and your 15s, those numbers, are those gold grains, or what am I looking at there, Barry?
Yeah, so that's gold grains in till. So we did test pits at just near surface, and then a deeper, it kind of went down deeper and took another sample underneath. So when you see two numbers side by side, that the first number would be kind of like a near surface till sample, and the second, so the 50 would be like a near surface till sample. That's the number of gold grains in the near surface till sample, and then 40 would have been maybe a meter below or something like that. I'm not sure exactly the depth, but approximately, I think it might have varied a bit, but at least a meter below, maybe a tiny bit more. So those are the number of gold grains that we got from sample sites along there. So you can see there's quite a lot of gold grains there, and where it says 97 visible gold grains in beach gravels, that's actually the original sample that the prospector brought to us, that we went in and kind of independently did our own sampling, came up with that 97 gold grains, and that got us excited about this area, this KG4 area. And when we looked at that with respect to the structure, it all sort of made sense that, that's where likely to see a bunch of gold grains. So that area remains a very exciting area. And then
And what
just down to
about
the,
the textures of those grains, Barry? Are they angular, rounded? What?
there was a good proportion of those 97 gold grains that were pristine. I can't remember the exact number, but a fairly significant proportion of them were actually pristine to modified. So they weren't overly, they weren't heavily rounded or like kind of with the tips all bent over with a lot of, that would indicate a lot of, say, water, movement or, traveling in a glacial environment. So, there's quite enough, even there's a 10 grain count, 35 grain count, 50
35.
grain count. There's a whole lot of gold there kicking around in the tills, and quite a lot of it is pristine.
The reason I asked, Barry, is I spent a lot of my career in diamond exploration, and looking for diamond indicator minerals that are either rounded or angular, is pretty important, because diamonds are so rare at the surface that you're not going to see the diamonds, but you will see indicator minerals. And those indicator minerals are suggestive, when they're angular, are suggestive of close proximity to source, which is the same story for pristine gold grains.
Exactly. So so for those who are not aware of what this is, I should explain. This is like the hot colors where the cursor is now. Those pinks and kind of hot colors are actually, that's actually a chargeability, an IP chargeability high anomaly. So when you run your lines, you basically put energy into the ground, and you try and find something that can actually be chargeable, like metals would be one example. So we tested some of these chargeability anomalies. You see there's a cluster of copper mineralized float on the shoreline, just right there. That's on the shoreline of King George IV. So we,
that was high grade float as well, if my memory serves me correctly.
It wasn't what I would consider high grade, but it was like 1% is type material, 1 to 2%.
The higher grade was for, I know what you're talking about, Allan.
Jacob's Pond. Yeah, okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
There's something else that on that structural picture, you showed that you can see the Cape Ray at the northern end there, and then you could also see a sort of a cross-cutting feature. Is that what we're seeing in that hot zone of IP, Barry? Is that cross-cut part of that structural story?
I'm trying to think
or
which,
that
which
IP?
which image will show it well. I mean, this is
that's not it. It's the one that Barry had up where it showed the you could see the two structures and then some north.
Barry, you want to pull up that map with all the gold prospects?
Yeah,
that one's the most illustrative.
Yeah, just let me just give me a second here.
He filed away. He thought it was done.
Sorry. Because it is important relative to that IP chargeability. So I'm going to get you to toggle back and forth, or go from one to the next, so people can see it in context. Okay, you see where the KG4 red dot is? Just to the north of that, northeast a bit, there's a structure, and to the south, yes. How does that play into that geophysical anomaly that you just showed, Barry?
The geophysical, the IP anomaly is right in this area here.
Okay, so so the one part of the geophysical anomaly covers part of the contact near the Cape Ray, and
Right.
that other sort of the other part of the horseshoe goes right where your cursor is.
Yeah, it comes down through here. One goes kind of along here, The other one kind of comes along here. So
And
it kind of
that's
wraps
at the,
around.
that one, the first one you mentioned, that covers the contact, right? Right
Why
at
don't
the
I
top.
switch back? Why don't I switch back to the close-up now that people have an idea of the regional structures?
Exactly. Thank you.
Sure thing. We'll get
Sorry
this.
about the flipping back and forth, folks, but this is important stuff.
There we go. So this is the horseshoe. And this,
Right.
the direction you're like, this is kind of northeast to southwest. This direction. So here's the horseshoe IP anomaly, Barry. You two you were discussing.
So it almost looks like, Barry, that you've got an IP anomaly to the that's associated with the Cape Ray, and it horseshoes around, and at the other end you're starting to get close to the Valentine Lake. Am I interpreting that correctly?
No, it's not that close.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that close. But the one up, the one up above by the lakeshore, that one would be very close to the contact between, say, the Cape Ray, the Windsor, the Cape, the key rock type that would be basically the equivalent of the Rogerson Lake conglomerate on the. So basically, the Rogerson Lake conglomerate is the key rock type that identifies that you're on the Valentine Lake structure. And the Windsor Point conglomerates and the Windsor Point rocks, there's various rock types in the Windsor Point, but includes conglomerates and shales. Those rocks are what define that you're on the Cape Ray shear. That's more or less associated with the gold, I guess, deposits, down at the Cape Ray deposit area, down at Matador's ground. So,
Okay.
so that where it says cluster of copper zinc mineralized float on that map, that's near where the Windsor Point group rocks contact is, right along that shoreline.
Okay.
We see the contact between the Windsor Point group and these ophiolites, these mafic intrusive, or these mafic rocks, mafic to ultramafic rocks.
So we started this conversation saying that, this is a target-rich project. And I think these maps with the various different IP, the surface sampling and the drilling, really confirms that comment.
And there are other areas which we didn't have time to get into today, because it's just, to a bit on the southwest of our property, near where the Cape Ray and the
Barry, you want to pull up the map if you're gonna?
Yeah.
Just because it's much easier, I think, for probably viewers. I know we don't have a whole bunch of time left, but it's probably
much easier. Sorry about that, guys, but you got so much to talk about. I can't apologize too much about taking time, because
no, we'll just have to come back on then.
Oh, well, you guys are always welcome to come back on.
So down in this area here, where the Windsor Point rocks, which define this Cape Ray contact, which what we're actually going out on a limb saying this is the Cape Ray shear zone out here, but I'm not the first one actually to say that. Although there hasn't been too many that I've heard others, so it's kind of innovative in a sense. But anyway, nonetheless, where that shear zone comes down and meets the Valentine Lake shear zone, which comes down through here, and kind of where they join down in this part of the property, there are a series of targets: Glimmer Pond, Fall Zone, Mink Pond. That area, very, very little work has been done down in this area. And that's an area that we're going to be spending more time on in the summer of 2022 to actually further define targets in here as well. So we're actually looking for a large pipeline of targets that that will be kind of advanced along the exploration cycle in this area, of course, up in this area, and what we're doing in here and along.
Well,
the IP
that's I keep getting back to that rock preparation. That's where you get those two kind of forks in the road for two deep structures. That's an awfully well prepared area for mineralization to occur.
Yeah, it is. And in 1980, I think it was 1990 or 1991, maybe, I'm not sure, but I was working with BP, British Petroleum, had a mining division And we flew down from Buckens, which is an old mining camp way up to the northeast here, up that way, just off the map. And we flew down by helicopter and did a regional till survey in this area, right along this near our, kind of right around our claims here, along that area. And we got anomalous copper and gold right along this, where this structure kind of starts to bend and go down through here. And so right along this contact, right along here, there's a number of copper anomalies and till, some gold anomalies and till right along here. And that also seems to match in with what we're seeing when we're seeing copper in this area. So we're wondering now if there's not more of a bigger picture copper target here that we will be kind of looking at, as, you know, among other things that we're looking at, of course, through 2022.
Well, if there's two metals I'm bullish on, it's copper and gold. One is I'm bullish on gold because of the economics situations, the monetary system, the inflation, the interest rates. But copper is the fuel of the future with all the electrification, and I think we're going to see $5 copper here pretty soon, and a price much higher than that. So good on you guys to be looking for both copper and gold. I love gold, and I love green gold.
Yeah, well, personally, I think this is one of the best, if not the best, exploration project that I've worked on in my 30 years. I'm quite bullish about our prospects on this property. It's a big property in the right kind of, it's got all the right geology, the right structures. It's got a number of gold occurrences. There's copper. There's a lot of things going for this property. So I'm still very excited about it.
Great comment to wrap it up on. Thanks again, guys. Was there, Joel, when maybe you could tell us a little bit about where, what we can look forward to with the Truth machine, some drilling?
Sure, yeah. I mean, like I've mentioned, we have at this point 7 holes that we publicly disclosed out of 22. We have 15 holes still to come. I expect them to roll out, like I said, get another batch. We should get another batch, fairly shortly, but I expect rolling results over the next month and a half or so to get out all those out of the lab into our hands and into the public. As Barry mentioned, we've got the IP survey going on multiple targets along the property. And after that, we've already firmed up a bit of an exploration plan, but as we kind of finalize it, including the budgeting for it, we'll be publicly disclosing our exploration plans for the year as well. There would be more drilling. It will be down the road, because just like we did this time, we want to be systematic in our approach to both the treasury and our exploration plans. And so we want to make sure we know exactly where we're drilling. Things like this IP, and what would be logical was to do, a set of soils on top of the IP to firm up a pipeline of drill targets for later this year.
Well, the opening comment was that you guys have a highly prospective project. I think that we made quite clear. And then I would also put it into the context of a sub $10 million valuation in one of the hottest gold camps, gold regions in the world. And of those two, there's a couple of regions, one where the Newfoundland gold or Newfound Gold Group and others are involved. Again, similarities, deep cracks in the earth, finding mineralization at surface, drilling into it. But the older, the more advanced area is where you guys are. As Joel said, you have this gold deposit to the north that's a multi-million ounce. You've got one to the south, and you're sandwiched in between. Same structural story, and still a very modest valuation.
Fully agreed. So everyone definitely stay tuned. And again, we're very much committed to getting results out to the market as soon as it is that we can receive them. So we'll continue to do so. We'll continue to be transparent with the market. We've already delivered on executing the drill program efficiently, as close to our budget as we could get within the timeline that we were planning for. And so we're going to continue to execute on an exploration plan systematically throughout this year. Hopefully continue to get joy with the drill bit.
Awesome. Let me wrap it up, guys, and we'll have a chat at the other end.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. And thanks
So
everybody.
there you
for
go,
watching.
folks. I started out by saying I think that this company has a very reasonable valuation and a solid project. As we talked about, you can see it in the maps, you can see it in the surface sampling, you can see it with the drill rig. They're just early days, sub $10 million valuation. But when I look at companies with cheap valuations, I also want to put it in the context of the news flow that can be catalysts. And what they've done so far is setting them up to have a lot of catalysts going forward. So I'm certainly anticipating a lot more of these interviews with TRU Precious Metals. Also have to thank them for being a sponsor of my my website, which helps me to get this kind of work out there. So as I always say, my shows are for information purposes only. It's important for you to do your homework. And I think we've led you down a good road of a lot of that homework, but also go to their website and check out their information, because they got a lot of good information on their website, and contact the company. They want these juniors, they like to talk to their investors and their potential investors. So as always, do your homework and we'll talk to you soon.